Martin, that's RAF 1506112. Record should reflect Mr. Martin as President of the Council, people present. All members of our jury and alternates are present. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. We are ready to get started. Mr. Swanson, I'll remind you, you're under the same oath that was administered to you this morning.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
Jeremy, before the break, I was asking you some questions about your dad and the importance of family to him. Let me show you some more photographs, and if you could tell us what we're looking at here. I'm going to show you 261 for identification. You see that photograph there?
I do.
Your dad's the one in the middle wearing the lei around his neck?
Yes.
Okay. Who else is in that photograph?
That's my son there with the other bow on his head, matching his grandpa, or his poppy. That's what we called my father in the family, was Poppy.
What's your son's name?
His name's Reed.
And he's playing with you or imitating what your dad's wearing?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. It was the decorations from some of the gifts, and my dad put it on his head and then had my son match him. Okay.
Is this at your family home, or where is this?
Yes, this was at the home before we purchased the home where my dad was retiring with us. This was I had put together a surprise birthday party for his 60th birthday. So that was the people in the backgrounds. That's my aunt standing next to him, my brother-in-law, and some friends in the back. But we had about 30, 40 people surprise my dad for his 60th birthday party that I had put together at our home.
Let me now show you what's been marked as 246. So that photograph we're looking at there.
Yes, that's my daughter, Ella. She's now 7. In this picture, she was barely 1. This was at Easter at my home, where he came and spent an Easter egg hunted with the grandkids and had lunch with my family and I.
Ella would be on, if looking at the photograph, would Ella be on the left or the right?
Ella would be on the right, sitting on his knee, and then that's Reed sitting on the pillow.
Okay.
He had come over to celebrate Easter with us.
Okay. Let me show you 250 for identification. And is that Reed?
That would be Ella. Yeah. Her hair wasn't quite grown in yet, so it would, that would be Ella, my daughter. She was probably 15 months at the time.
And I was going to say, I can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl.
It's confusing. It's not much to tell.
Let me show you another photograph, Jeremy. 248. Do you see that photograph?
Yes.
What's that?
That's the first time my father held my daughter, just after she was born. This was his first granddaughter. And still the only granddaughter, and he called her Ella Bella, and he adored her. And
let me show you 247. You see that photograph there?
I do.
And at whose home was that one taken?
This is at our home. This is in our backyard. This is the very first barbecue we ever had together in our new backyard. That's Reed and Ella up there, and Poppy giving his hang loose sign that he loved to do.
And this was the home that was to be where he was going to retire to live in the back house?
Yes, I had worked very hard for many years to buy a dream home for my family and my father to retire at, and I was very proud to be able to do so before he unfortunately was taken away by that man over there.
Okay. And before today and at some point earlier in your life, did you create a collage of photographs that you put into kind of a video?
Yes, I had created on the 4th anniversary of his death a video that I just felt led to do my voice to talking to him and just explaining and expressing my love and my miss for him.
At this time, the people would like to play that video, which is 273. There is some narrative on the video. We have prepared a transcript and would ask those be handed out now.
once again, ladies and gentlemen, the same admonition that I gave you during the guilt phase of the trial. The evidence is the tape, not the transcript. If you find discrepancies, you can make note of it on the transcript. Write your juror number on the transcript, and that you will retain during the balance of this portion of the trial. And then if you wish to listen to this part of the trial again, it will have to be by way of listening to the tape, because the court reporter will not be transcribed. Both sides stipulate that the court reporter may be relieved of her duties under the code from transcribe.
Yes.
Yes. So 273 will be the video, and then 273A will be marked as a transcript. All right, may proceed to play it. Thank you.
Dad, the words I miss you don't scratch the surface, what it feels like not having. It's like I'm constantly waiting for you to walk in the door, but no, it's never going to happen. And although it's been 4 years since you were taken, I still find it hard to not pick up the phone and call you. The road of emotions is constantly changing, and the effects of those emotions have been the hardest to do. That being said, I feel you, telling me to push forward in directions only you would understand. The connection we had here on Earth was so rare. Yes, you were my father, but more than that, you were my best friend. In the last years of your life, you became the rock for Chris and I, and the best friends to your grandkids, Reed and Ella. The twinkle in your eye and theirs was something that could warm them. And most of all, their hearts. They miss you so much, Dad, and talk about you constantly.
Hi, Poppy. I just wanted you to know I miss you so much, and I wish you were here. Love you. Hi, Poppy. This is Reed. I just want you to know how much I miss you and love you.
Since you've left, so much has changed, except for one thing. We all miss you. We all miss the love and laughs you provided constantly.
The random goofy text and dad jokes you send daily no longer come. I think that's what we miss most about. You were unforgettable because the impression of love you left on this world was something so special to so many. On this day, 4 years ago, we all lost a piece of us that can't be replaced. It hurts, Dad. I truly hate it. But I know if you had the ability to tell me, you'd simply say, keep on trucking, son. Your life has so much left to live. So live it. So with that thought in mind, that's exactly what I'm doing. I still have plenty to work through, but I know one thing's for sure. I'm doing everything I can to live a life and legacy you'd be proud of. Thank you for all that you taught me, and most of all, for loving me for who I am. You love like no one else. You hug like no one else. And most of all, you lived a life the way most should be. Here's to being 4 years closer to seeing you again, Pops. We all miss you so much. Cheers to the first beer of the day, Pops. To all your friends, please raise a Miller Lite high for Poppy, because that's exactly what he wanted you to do. Love you always, Pops. We miss you. We can't wait to see you again.
All right, we'll go back on record. All parties are present, all jurors and all first.
Yes, thank you, Ron. Jeremy, just to one last question. How would you like us to remember your dad?
A legend. My father was someone that most of us wish we could be. I think if my father would have even had 10 minutes to talk to the person who killed him, it would have probably changed his whole mind. Because my father was a person who cared about everybody in the room. If you didn't know him, you felt him, because he was the person that could just give an energy that just lit up a room. And my father died a hero, trying to save a family he didn't even know. That's how I'd like my father remembered, as a legend and a legacy that all of us should live by. And I'm proud to be his son.
Thank you, Jeremy. I think over you, Ron. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Swanson.
Good afternoon.
Looking at all those photos, it's clear that your dad was a legend.
He was.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I know there's nothing that anybody can do here that's going to make that come back for you, and I feel sad for that.
We hope for justice.
A couple questions for you. When you got back from China, you began learning about the circumstances surrounding your dad's murder, correct?
I learned most of it while I was in China because I was in contact with the detectives,
Okay.
so I had a good idea what was going on before I boarded the plane.
At some point, did you learn that Brandon had been 5150?
Well, yeah, because we had learned that he was held and then released.
Okay, so and at the time you learned that he was 5150, did you know what that meant?
Yes.
Okay. Fair to say that you knew he was taken from his home to the mental health facility, correct?
Objection.
You were aware that he was taken to that mental health facility?
Objection.
Are you aware that at some point he was released from a facility? Let me ask it to you this way. We know who murdered your dad and the other gentleman in this case, right? He's sitting behind me.
Yes.
Do you believe that the regional center or the ETS also bears some responsibility?
Not for his actions, not for what he did.
Okay. Do you believe that they bear some responsibility in this case?
I think their responsibility is opposite of what his responsibility is. I don't think that it's relevant, honestly, in my mind.
Okay. There's a lawsuit pending against the County of Riverside and the Regional Center, correct?
I'm not allowed to comment on that.
Well, is there a pending lawsuit?
Yes,
Okay, and you're part of that lawsuit, correct?
that's public record, but I'm not allowed to talk about it.
And why are you not allowed to talk about it?
Because my attorneys advised me not to.
Okay. So you are one of a few people that are suing the County of Riverside for their actions surrounding this case. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And your brother and sister are also plaintiffs in that lawsuit, correct?
Yes, we're all victims.
Okay. Along with the Anderson family.
I can't answer for them.
Well, do you know if they're part of the lawsuit as well?
Yes, they feel the same as we do.
Okay. And the lawsuit against the county is because, just to summarize it,
You're not going to object.
Right, as to the specifics of the case, he's been advised by to speak about it, so I don't honor that.
is it a lawsuit where at the end, well, let me ask this, is the lawsuit still pending?
I can't comment. I would like to plead the fifth if I have to, but I'm not allowed to talk about this. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about here.
You can't plead the fifth on it because there's no criminal consequences of your answer.
I'm just, I can't comment to his questions because of my attorneys. If they were present, I probably could, but I can't.
And that I understand, sir. And anything dealing with the specifics of the suit, you do not have to discuss.
Yes.
To the extent that it's still pending, that has nothing to do with the underlying facts. So
It is.
that you can answer.
Okay, I'll answer this. It is pending until he is found guilty. He has been found guilty.
Okay. Were you here in court at some point, and were you ever approached by Melody Martin?
I was never approached. I was handed a letter by her nephew, Michael Anderson.
Okay. And did you have a chance to look at that letter?
I looked at it before I threw it in the trash.
And was that essentially a condolences or apology letter from her?
She apologized for what her son had done, and I believe from what I read in it, I only read it the one time before I threw it away, and I was very emotional, but I believe it was that she apologized for the actions of her son, and she felt he needed to be punished for what he did. I believe that's what the letter was entailed to. I don't have a copy of it, but what I read was that he deserved to be punished for what he did, and she was very sorry for what her son did to my father.
Thank you.
First,
No redirect.
witness excused.
Yes.
You just have one moment. Eric, can we approach briefly?
You want to just talk to counsel. You do that. Still have an issue with that? If you do, Mr. Walker. All right. Are you going to be here the balance of the day, sir, or are you going to leave
I will be here.
here? All right. So then we'll just make you subject to recall, meaning that you can't talk to anybody about your testimony, and if the issue that they wish to raise is relevant and allow it, then we'll bring you back. So you don't have to come back after.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So you're excused for now, sir, but subject to recall.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next witness.
If people call John Swanson.
I do.
Joshua Swanson, Joshua Swanson.
Mr. Swanson, if you could continue to use that microphone in front of you, you can adjust it if you like, however is comfortable, but we do need you to speak directly in it, okay?
Yes, sir.
Also, sir, when the questions are being asked of you by the lawyers, make sure you give us a verbal or audible answer, yes, no, or whatever you want to tell us. But if you just nod your head up and down, shake your head side to side, say uh-huh, we'll need to get clarification, okay?
Yes, sir.
And then lastly, please wait until they're done asking a question before you answer. You jump in to answer thinking you know what the question's going to be, talk at the same time, the court reporter can't record that. So please wait until they're done, and then you respond, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. First.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Josh Swanson.
Good afternoon.
Thank you today.
As well as possible?
I have a loaded question.
Yeah.
In terms of the siblings, the children of Barry Swanson, where do you,
I'm the firstborn, oldest.
how many years older is Jeremy or Leslie?
Jeremy is second. Leslie is first, or youngest. We're each 3 years apart.
Good plan. Tell us about your dad, what he meant to you.
As both Jeremy and Leslie stated, he was our everything. He was my roommate, my best friend.
He was your roommate. Was he living with you before he was planning to live with Jeremy?
Yes, he lived with me a year. We lived together for about a year before he moved in with my brother Jeremy. That was.
Were you brought up in Riverside?
Yes.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Harrison Elementary School, Shamawa Middle School, and Arlington High School.
Was on that west side of Riverside?
Yes.
And as you grew up, your dad, he had a business doing window coverings?
Yes. In think back, it was about 1998. I was working for Wells Fargo, and he was just leaving his last data communications job and trying to decide what he was going to do, and his friend showed him a business. And soon after he began that venture, he asked me to come start installing or helping him. And I had just went through a divorce. I'm sorry, he had just gone through a divorce. I was still young, only 18 back then. And I moved in with him in a condo in Rancho Santa Margarita, and we worked together building a wine business.
You went through a divorce, that was from your mom, Donna?
Yes.
After the divorce?
I back up one moment. He actually, that was his, a brief marriage with a woman named Fran. That was after my mother.
He was married to Donna, brief marriage.
Yes.
And then about at the age of 18, you and he worked in the same business, the business.
Yes.
And let me just show you a photograph to 51. And you see that photograph there?
Yes.
What are we looking at?
That was, my brother and I were working together on a job. I had just finished installing blinds for someone who did MMA fighting promotions here in Riverside, and she gave us tickets. So I quickly called my dad and my brother and said, we're going out tonight. My dad said we much needed it, as me and my brother were in the middle of an argument. So we went, and that was here at Heroes before the fight.
Yeah, I think Jeremy mentioned earlier on, if there were fights between the siblings, Barry would be the one to mediate, he was a glue,
He was our referee, sorry.
He was a referee?
Yeah.
And that was the night you went to the MMA fight together?
Yes.
Back then, was it common for you to socialize with your dad?
Every chance we got.
Why was that?
As we got older, family became more important to both my brother and I, with our own separate families, and our dad was the proudest grandfather ever.
Do you have children?
I do.
You have children.
My son is 22. And my daughter just turned 10 months.
How has this impacted, not just you, but your family?
My son lost his poppy. My son unfortunately inherited his hairline and lost his hair this last year. And my son was introduced to motorcycles through my father and myself. My dad helped him rebuild his first dirt bike, took him for rides on his first Harley ride, and my son was devastated. And my daughter will never have a grandfather.
Was the bike riding a hobby that you shared with them?
Yes, ever since motorcycles has been part of our life. Since I was a young child, I grew up. When I was born, he was still racing motocross at the time. And I spent just about every weekend with my mother at the track, watching my father race.
Where would you race?
Corona Speedway, Orange County Speedway, various tracks. I was too young to remember exactly where, but desert races out in Palm Desert.
Was this a profession or?
Strictly hobby.
But it's a hobby to do at the tracks?
Yes.
Let me show you another photograph. 260 for identification. See that?
Yes.
What are we looking at there?
That is a night my father and I went to the Orange County Speedway to watch the speedway races together with another group of friends. And after the races, we went to a local bar and restaurant in Orange County. And that was just a great night. Him and I spent riding Harleys.
And let's show you where I'm giving it back to Jeremy.
No. And it will go to my daughter next.
Let me show you 259. See 259 there?
Yes.
Barry and you?
Yes.
When was that taken, remember?
That was in March, actually February, of 2007 or 15. Right before I moved away. That was the last time my father and I rode together.
That was February or March 2015?
Yes, sir.
And you said you moved away. Have you moved away from Riverside?
I did. My father and I were living together in a home that we rented in Riverside. and I received a job offer with a company, and the job offer was dependent on me relocating to North Carolina. After discussing this with my brother and my father, I took the offer and moved to North Carolina. This allowed my father to start his plan to retire and move in with my brother.
And you said that this photograph here shows the last time that you and your father rode together.
Yes.
Now, through the course of this case, have you heard about how and the manner in which your father died?
Yes.
And hearing those facts and those circumstances, what impact does that have upon you and your understanding of your dad?
Hearing the great details, I guess it cements or concretes what I've always known of my father, to not run away and in the manner that he was killed. He died fighting to help someone.
And we heard from Jeremy earlier on that your dad was a Vietnam vet, was a gunner, a door gunner.
Yes.
It was involved in 5 crashes. Did your dad share those stories with you?
Yes, and the interesting thing about that, I think my brother would agree with, is it took my dad a long time to heal from Vietnam and come to, when he bought his Harley, first Harley in 2000, at 2000, he bought his Fat Boy, and he started doing the Run for the Wall, which was a cross-country motorcycle trip from Ontario, California to Washington, D.C. on Memorial Day every year. And he reunited with a lot of his Vietnam friends and people he had served with. And that began him sharing the stories with my brother and I and my family.
And before that time, he had kept those memories or those experiences locked up?
Yes.
But it was through the riding the bikes and connecting with the brotherhood of Vietnam veterans in Washington.
That was a time in our lives where him and I really solidified our adult relationship and being able to talk about things that I think before that he felt were not appropriate to talk to children.
So as you got older and you too became a man, those memories and those experiences were shared with you?
Multiple times.
Let me show you what's been marked as 252. Josh, what are we looking at there?
That was a surprise birthday party that my brother threw for his wife, and a great night that the whole family got to come together. I was living in Santa Barbara at the moment. That was my father, of course, across from me, with my mother behind him, my sister, and a friend that I worked with in Santa Barbara that came down to race motocross with me that weekend. And his name was Taylor.
And you two became a racer in motocross?
Very amateur-ish. After I went through a divorce, I moved to Santa Barbara and bought a dirt bike and decided to race 2 seasons as an amateur dirt bike rider and share that with my father.
Where were you when you heard that your father had been murdered?
I was in North Carolina.
And how were you informed?
I received a message from my sister that our father was missing and no one had heard from him, and she had asked if I had. And she believed something had happened at work. I used to work for Defenders before all of this, and through my contacts as a regional vice president, I was able to call some of the my coworkers to find out what they knew, and we were given information. That night I was on the phone consistently with my sister and my mother, and frantically searching Facebook through mutual friends to see what I could find out. And someone who worked for me in the past in a window covering company, 3 Day Blinds, she posted on Facebook that something had happened to her neighbor at her neighbor's home, and the ADT guy was killed, is what she had posted on Facebook. I immediately messaged her through Facebook and determined that she lived on the street that Brandon lived on, or that his parents lived on, and found out that that was my father. And at the time, the information coming across was very mixed up. We were told that there was a survivor, possibly. Knowing my father was a fighter, we assumed it could possibly be him. But after multiple phone calls late that night, we found out that it wasn't, and he had died.
How would you like us to remember Barry?
My father was, like Jeremy said, he was a legend. Everyone that he came in contact with, he left everyone's life better. He wanted this world to be a better place after he left it.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ross?
Your Honor, prior to the cross, can we just take a short break?
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a brief recess. Remind all of you not to